Welcome, I'm Arctomian of Team Pro Pixel, and we're here with the first episode of Wargame Red Dragon. It's a tutorial based episode, so please like it or subscribe it or give comments. We're gonna dive into Wargame Red Dragon and take a look at the different types that we can master out and what the difference is between different kind of units. And today we're gonna start off with logistics, which I'm gonna make a very easy tutorial and very small probably, but we'll see how far we'll get. So let's make the first test deck. I'm gonna go for Bluefor. So let's see, test deck, and we're gonna start off with the motorized. You know what, let's not put a bonus at all on it, and let's see what we're getting. So we're at the logistics here, and you'll see command vehicles, infantry. This is actually kind of new, command infantry. And then of course you got the normal vehicles and the logistic support, supply trucks, and the FOBs of course. So let's start right at the top, which is being loved during the beta out. Pretty much is the helicopters. Now you'll notice on the right side, before you take a helicopter, you might want to choose which one. What's the difference in the stats? So side of the different kind of nationality that you have here on the left side, you also have on the right side a little small icon that tells you it's a command helicopter. Now with the command helicopter you don't have to look at the armor rate because it literally doesn't have any armor, but what you do want to look at is the speed on it and the anatomy. So how fast does it go and how far can it reach? And it's got a 950 liter fuel capacity and its stealth is poor. I don't think there are actually any helicopters that are more stealthier. I think they're all poor. And what's the difference on the Lynx and the Bell then? Well, it seems that the Bell is going 30 kilometers slower, but is in size very small. Don't think that actually makes any difference. Spotted is spotted. Its anatomy is also a little bit further, but only by 50 liters, or sorry, did I say that right? No, 185 kilometers in anatomy, and the fuel capacity is 50 liters less. So in this case, I would say that, well, I would say the Bell would be the best option. If you look the two, yeah, definitely. So what else do we have? We have the command vehicles. The command vehicles is actually a choice between the normal vans that you have. I call them hippie buses. And with the hippie bus, it's important that you look at the speed, 110 kilometers, and the road speed, 150 kilometers. So if you move fast, it will go 150 kilometers. If you go over rough terrain, it will only go 110 kilometers. Its optics are medium, and again its stealth is poor, and its anatomy is 700 kilometers. Now let's see what kind of different hippie vans we have here. This one only goes 55 kilometers through rough terrain, so apparently the Koreans do not have that good of a hippie van than the Germans have. Let's see what else do we have. We've got the Danish here, which is also 55 kilometers it seems. And we've got an American here, also 55 kilometers. The Canadians also 55 kilometers and even less road speed, I'm noticing. The Japanese. No, 55 kilometers and 150 kilometers road speed. And the French, 110 kilometers versus 150 kilometers road speed. So let's see, the French, and what did I have before? The Germans. Germans. There we go. 110 kilometers. So it's either the Germans or the French you want to take in this one. Alright. So we'll take the German. Next up is the tanks. Because the hippie vans literally don't have any armor, as you can see. 0. And they do not shoot back. So what do you want to do then? We'll have different types of armored vehicles, which is the South Korean one is a M48A3CV with 90mm rounds times 45, as you can see, and a Browning on top of it. Now the main gun goes 30% accuracy, so that's not that good. Its armor on the front is only 5, on the sides only 3, on the back only 1, and on the top only 1. So it's very vulnerable for bombing and artillery. It's only going 50 kilometers through rough terrain, but it does go 110 kilometers through road speed. So we'll do it. We'll check it out what the other do. Alright, so the Danish apparently have the FCC or FFC Centurion, which has a quarter pounder 20 and it's got an accuracy of 25%, so that's 5% less. It does have an L37 with a little bit higher accuracy, and its frontal armor is quite good against, for instance, infantry, anti-armored infantry and other tanks. The side armor is also a little bit better by 2 points, which is only 5. The back is only 2, and the top is only 2. So yeah, it definitely is worth looking at if you go for survivability, but on the defense side, it's kind of a little bit poor. It still has 110 kilometers road speed, but only 35 kilometers speed in rough terrain. Let's see, the Americans, they have the Abram, of course. Wouldn't be any different, and the Americans have 3 different types of weapons on their command tank, which is the M68A1 with an accuracy of 40, the Browning, which has an accuracy of 15, and the M2040 or 240, which has an accuracy of 20 as well. So this is actually weapon-wise pretty good, as well as the frontal armor only being 15, or only being 15, which is amazing actually. The sides being 6, sorry about that guys, and the back being 3 and the top being 3. Its speed over rough terrain is 70 kilometers and its road speed is 110 kilometers as well. So, but this is 220 points and the other ones are only 150 and 215. So the British is the next one we're gonna look at, because I wanna compare the Abram 220 with the Chieftain. And I'm kind of amazed that it's not a Challenger, but we'll take a look at the Chieftain. The Chieftain only has 2 weapons, the L37 and the L100A5. Its accuracy is quite good, 50% and 20% on the L37. It has a lousy rough terrain speed, and the road speed is again 110 kilometers. It's got 1 point less than the American Abram, so it's 14, and the sides got a little bit higher, which is 8, and the back is on 4 and the top is on 3. So actually defense wise this one would be the better one, with only 1 point loss on the front, but and the accuracy is also better, but you know, the speed is just not as good. I'm still kind of a bigger fan of the Chieftain here than I am on the Abrams, so Chieftain is leading on that one. Of course the Canadians have a Leopard, which is originally German, and we'll get to that in a moment. What kind of Leopard do they have? An A51. They have 2 weapons, L7A3 cannon with an accuracy of 35%, which is not that good. The GPMG, which has an accuracy of 20%, which is pretty normal. It's got a quite good rough terrain speed, and the road speed is again 110%, but as you can see, its frontal armor is quite lower. It's only 8, and on the side 3, which is only half of the Abram. And if you can remember, it was actually a little bit more even on the chieftain. On the back and on the top, it's only 2. So let's see. It's 190 points. So for 30 points extra, you could actually have a chieftain or an Abram. So the chieftain is still number 1 here. And then of course we'll get. Oh, let's get to the Australians first, which actually have the same one. See if there's a difference. There's actually a difference in rate of fire because they use a different kind of secondary gun, which is the MG3, which has an accuracy of 30%. But otherwise than that, it's pretty much the same, except for the range on it is a little bit less. And the stabilizer, while driving, you have a stabilizer, and when you shoot, the chance on a direct hit would be less than on the Canadian, which is actually 5 points only cheaper. So if you have to choose between the two, you see, I would definitely go for the Australian one. So the British still leading with the chieftain. So let's get to the German, which have the Panzer Befwagen, I think, Befwagen, Leopard 2. Now the Leopard is very renowned for its armor, so let's see what it does. It's 230 points, 10 points more than the Abram and the Chieftain. So this ought to be good. It's got a 120mm round. The accuracy of 35%. With a decent stabilizer in the AP power and the HP power, which is the damage dealt to armor targets and the damage dealt to non-armor targets, is pretty good. The suppression is pretty good. And the rate of fire is 10 rounds a minute, which is also not bad. And then of course we got the MG3, which is also on the Australian Leopard. Its frontal armor is 15, so it's very good against other tanks. And its side armor is 6, which is equal to the Abram. The back armor is 4 and the top armor is 3, so that's equal to the Abram. It's got slightly faster speed on the rough terrain, and again 110 kilometers road speed on the roads. Now it's not as good. It's not as good as the Chieftain still. If we remember and go back to the Chieftain, if I can find it fast. Chieftain, where are you? You're my Chieftain. Where are you, Chieftain? There we go. You'll notice that, yes, its road speed is way slower, but look at the stats over here. And it's not like you want to go offensive with a command vehicle, so it's a tough one. It's a tough one. You know what? For the 30 points, 10 points extra, 100. It's got a 120mm round, so let's see the Chieftain. It's also got a 100. Chieftain still wins it, according to my opinion, that is, guys. If you feel different, then please leave a comment below. I still think that the Chieftain would be the better option here. Now the Japanese have the Nanayon Ashiki. I have no idea, but it's got a lousy armor. I already see it, 6 on the front, 3 on the sides, 1 on the back and 1 on the top, so it's very vulnerable for artillery and air attacks. It's got a 105mm rounds. The accuracy is surprisingly not that good, but then again it's only 150 points as well, so its speed is also very bad on off-terrain. It's still 110 kilometers on the road. So the Chieftain still wins it, and as last, of course, we've got the AMX, the renowned AMX series of the French. It's got a 105mm as well. It's 174 points, so it's in between the Abram as well as the Nana. 70 kilometers of speed, 110 kilometers on the roads, normal pretty much. It's got the same, pretty much the same stats as the Nana, only being 2 kilometers faster. Let's see. The accuracy is slightly higher with 5%, but the stabilizer is less. The AP power is better. It's got less rounds per minute fired. So actually, it does have a third weapon though. Got to admit that. The accuracy on the second weapon is next to nothing, even though it's got 20mm rounds and it only does 160 rounds a minute. But the range on the helicopter is maximum. and this is anti-infantry, which is not bad as well, 20% or 50%. So no, I think the Nana would still win it, but you know, overall the Centurion. Oh, the Norwegian have one as well apparently, which is the Kolvoggen M48 AS. 150 points, lousy armor, lousy off-terrain speed, road speed still the same. It's got a 105mm just like the AMX and the Nana, and it's got a Browning. But yeah, this is definitely not worth the 150 points. And the Swedish, of course, with their own made tank destroyer, which so happened to be a tank, and I so happen to know that this tank was made for Swedish terrain only. It's got quite some frontal armor, which is not that surprising with that front. But the side armor and the back armor and the top armor are not that good, considering the points 210 points, but the accuracy on it is 45%, so it's only 5% less on the Chieftain. And the HE power and the suppression is pretty good as well as the rate of fire, and the secondary is not that bad as well. So yeah, this is a tough one. I would say the Chieftain still wins it, but close one. I like the Swedish command vehicle. It's not bad. It's bra. Alright, that's the tanks. So yeah, the Chieftain definitely won it stat wise. So let's take the Chieftain. Alright, next, the command units. Now we have the Koreans. We have M16, M60 and the M60. They have, let's lock that. There we go. The M16's got an accuracy of 30. You have a moment for me, then I'll go for that where. Alright, the M16's got or the Koreans have the M16 and the M60. The accuracy on it is quite poor on the M16, and the accuracy on the M60 is not that bad, but not that amazing as well. The stealth on it is very good, and you want to have it as good as possible. The optics are medium, and the anatomy is not of no use. So let's take on the next one, the Canadians, which have the C, that's actually the Mako if I'm correct, C1A1 SLR and the C6. The accuracy on it is already better on the main weapon and on the off weapon, and as well as on the rate of fire and the on both weapons, if I'm correct. Yeah. But then again, oh, they're both the same points. It's kind of weird. How is that good? Good. Oh, well, alright. Koreans already didn't made it against the Canadians. The next one are the Danish. Let's see, the Danish have pretty much the same stats than the Canadians, which is not that bad. They've got the GM75 and the MG3, which you also see on the weapons. Now let's see. It's got good stealth, rate of fire is pretty much good, but the Danish win it with their off weapon. Still 105 points, so yeah. Difficult. I think the Danish win it from the Canadians, so the Koreans win it from the Canadians win it from the Koreans, and the Danish win it from the Canadians. Next up are the dreaded and feared Germans. They use the Heckler & Koch G3A2 and the MG3, which is pretty much the same stats as I can see, 40% and 30%. Let's see the Danish. They have 40 and 30 as well. Rate of fire is 120 rounds and 120 rounds. Stealth is good. So the Danish and the Germans are pretty much the same. Okay. Well, let's go for the Danish then after that. But let's take a look at the French, which only have the MAT 49, which is a Uzi standard gun, and the NF1. They're 105 points as well. Their size is very small like the rest of them, but the rate of fire and the accuracy on the main weapon is pretty lousy as well as the accuracy, so the French lose it by this of the Danish and the Germans. So let's check the Japanese out. The Japanese, they use the Hawa Type 64. Accuracy on the offhand is slightly a little bit better, but the stabilizer is not that good. So let's see. Stabilizer is the same. It's pretty much the same. Okay. So what do we have else? Okay. So the rate of fire on the German MG3 is actually higher. But the accuracy on the Hanbu Han is better. I'm gonna go for accuracy, so the Japanese win it from the German and the Danish. So we'll keep it with that. Now let's see the British. The British use the L1A1 SLR. And it seems like they are competing for the Japanese. On the offhand, have a slightly better rate of fire. Accuracy is pretty much the same. Yes. The British win it from the Japanese. There you see the difference already in the units. Let's see what else do we have. Oh, the Canadians of course. Or the Norwegians. Sorry about that, guys. Rate of fire on the offhand on the MG3 is actually quite good. But the accuracy is lower, and I want accuracy. Accuracy is actually better. No, they're not gonna win it from the British. I think we had them all. Did we? No, the Swedish. I almost forgot the Swedish and the Australians and the Americans. Oh, how could I? The Swedish have the AK-4 and the KSP M58. The rate of fire on it is pretty good. They both have accuracies of 40. The rate of fire on it is on the offhand is 315, which was on the British I think the same. Check that. Yep, and 120 on the rate of fire on the main. So let's see how the Swedes are doing at that. 120 as well. You know what? The stats are pretty much the same as the British one, so we're gonna go with the Swedish. Oh, they're the under-tiered ones here. But let's see, the Australians and the Americans still have to go. The Australians use the L1A1 SLR as well as the L7A1. Both have 40%, 350 rounds per minute. The rate of fire on the main one is 120 rounds per minute, which is pretty good as well. And the stabilizer, HE power and the suppression are pretty good as well. So the Swedish and the Australians are pretty much the same stats. And remember, they're still the same points as any kind of command infantry that we had before. So last we have the Americans, which have slightly higher rate of fire with the main weapon, if I'm correct. Yes, 40 rounds a minute more. But the accuracy is 10% lower. However, the stabilizer is 5% higher. Now that doesn't make that much of a difference. So in the game, mechanic wise, I would say the Swedish and the Australians won it. And we're gonna go with eeny, meeny, miny, mo. There we go, we'll take the Swedish. As last, we're gonna go for the supply trucks and of course an FOB, but the FOB is no difference in any kind of nationality, so we're gonna go with the supply trucks. Let's see, supply trucks. Supplies! Let's see. What's the first one we encounter here? Trying to find a supply truck. Command rover. Ah, here we go. The British. The British have the stalwarts. which is actually not that good. Off-road 50 kilometers an hour and on-road 150 kilometers an hour. We need to pay attention to this one. Usually we use move fast. The fuel capacity on it, which carries it with it, is 800 liters. That's the small yellow bar you see underneath it when you deploy it. And of course it's only 15 points. So what's the next one? The Swedish Amphibial 101. Also 800 liters, 150 kilometers, 15 points, and its speed is 90 kilometers off-road. So that's already better than the Stalwart, the British Stalwart, which is quite weird. Alright, no problem. Of course, and then you got the Japanese Chukata, and I already see that for 10 points, 5 points less even, you get 300 liters less, 20 kilometers off-road less, but still the same road speed. So yeah, this is definitely no option. You don't, yeah, it's 10 points, of course guys, but on the other hand, you know, you want to deploy supplies. You don't want to continuously make one line of supply. So yeah, that's not worth the 5 point less. Is that it? No. The Danish have one as well, with Jupiter. It's got 110 liters. It's a 5 point more than the Swedish. It's got 70 kilometers off-road. How much was the Swedish on the off-road? We have a estimation on that. 90. So 20 kilometers less off-road. 150 kilometers against. And I would still say for the 110 liters, I would still, the Danish is gonna win it from the Swedish. Because fuel capacity is everything. You only want to spend as little points as possible. And then again, Swedish still have the supply helicopter, we'll get to that in a moment. The Koreans have the K-50 511, which has 500 liters. It's got 10 points as well, 50 kilometers. Pretty much the same stats. A 10 pointer for shit. But here we getting to the American Hammett, most used supply truck, 2400 liters. Its off-road speed is 100 kilometers. You'll notice it being used in armor as well. I think even the American army today is still using it. And the road speed is 150 kilometers. So yeah, for 40 points more, so it's 20 points more. But look at this, 2400 liters. And for 20 points less, you'll get the Danish Jupiter. It's 200 extra liters for faster speed. So the Hammett is winning it. This is a 10 pointer, pretty much useless. That's a 10 pointer, pretty much useless. The Australians have a Cutty, 1700 liters for 30 points. Yeah, 90 kilometers off road, it still doesn't make, it came close to the second place, but it's still not an Hammett. As well as the German Cutty. It's pretty much the same, it's even lousier than the Australian one. Regarding the speed, but then again there's a ear type difference. And as last we've got the VLRA Logistique of the French. It's got an 800 liter tank, 15 points. It's actually the best low point one, if I see. 90 kilometers off road and 150 kilometers on road again. It's got 800 liters and it's only 50 points. But yeah, the Hammett is definitely winning this. Hammett for logistics. Alright, last one is the supply helicopter. Supply helicopter. I noticed that I see a difference in the command choppers. My bad for that guys, I'll rectify that next time. But for now, the supply helicopter. Big target, 25 liters, 2500 liter capacity, 300 kilometer speed, and you want to get this as fast as possible and this as high as possible. So yeah, 65 points. Let's see what the Australians have. They have a Chinook. I love Chinooks. 300 kilometers again, 2500 liters. Pretty much the same. No difference. Then the Americans got the Super Chinook. No difference. The Chinese are using the CH, which is also with Chinook if I'm correct. And it's pretty much the same as well. That's weird. The Americans also have the CH-53, which is a 3700 liter one, for 20 points more. Actually, this is not bad. 50 kilometers less speed. Yeah, the Americans are gonna win that with the CH-53. But the British have a 50 kilometer, 1500 liter. Yeah, no, that's not an option. Goes 270 kilometers, but it's carrying too low of a fuel. You wanna drop it down and leave it on the ground as long as possible. And the Swedish have one as well. The HKP-4A, which is made in Sweden itself. 1000 liter only, so yeah. I would not even call this a supply helicopter. I would call this a shoot me down, I wanna lose points helicopter. It's only fair 30 points though, so. But you know, with the anti-air and that kind of stuff, nah, I wouldn't take it. Unless you were bound to points. Pretty much the same for the Japanese Shirasaki. And of course with Germans you got the Matstrap, which carries also 3700 liters but goes 250 kilometers an hour. So it's the equivalent of the American CH-53. And the French are using a Puma with only 1000 liters 30 years, so that's not a use. Yeah, so it's either the German Matstrap or the American CH-53. It's either one of the two. And I'm gonna go, because I'm always for the underdog, I'm gonna go for the German Matstrap. So that's there you have it for logistic, guys. That's what you need to look out for. Again, I'm sorry that I fucked up on the command helicopters, but I'll rectify that next time. Please put a comment below, like the video, share it, and subscribe. And if you want to see more live Wargame Red Dragon, go to www.teamprofixel.com. I'm Arctomian. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next episode.